Right, well, many thanks, Rasulia. I'm sorry I speak no Greek. I apologise for that. I'm going to need just the help of you English speakers, just for the first few minutes, because I liked this conference because it focused on active dialogue. That was the topic that really attracted me. And I've come to conferences in Greece where the speakers talk at the audience, sometimes for an hour, with no audience participation, which seemed to me not to be active dialogue. So I would like you now, please, just to talk for 2 minutes each with a partner, where you talk to each other about something that really matters to you. So if you think about your work, and some of you will be educators, and there are always things to improve in education, I'd just like you to talk for 2 minutes and to listen to each other whilst you really try to understand what it is that the other person values. So this idea of active dialogue actually starts with who you are. Now that has been understood, because is that okay? Because it seems to me many of you are nodding, and therefore it seems you understand my English. Okay, so could you do that, please? Just with one other person, talk to them about what you feel really matters, what you really want to improve. And I'll just indicate after 2 minutes, so you switch round and understand. Yeah, thank you.
I know what I want to do. I want the students and kids to be heard. It really bothers me.
Can you hear or not? Good.
No, in general. So that's basically what I want to
Can you make sure the other person is now given the same time as yourself? So just please make sure you've switched in terms of the attention you're giving to the other person and what they care about. Okay, thanks.
Do you agree?
Okay, can we now just come and focus on the experience that you've just had together? Because if you are going to create active dialogue, I'm saying you have to change the kind of teaching and learning that goes on in spaces like this. Because I've had 40 years in universities, and most of the learning takes place in a transmission mode. It's the lecturer talking at the audience, and the audience then regurgitate the knowledge in the examinations. It is certainly not learning through active dialogue. So even now, when you're all giving me your attention, and if you like, you are submitting to the power that I have in this space, but it destroys the active dialogue that you were just having, where you focused on what really matters to you. So I've been asked if I would just address you for 20 minutes. And I've travelled quite a long way from Bath in England to be with you. And I spent a lot of time preparing a presentation, which I've actually put on the web for you to access. So rather than talking at you about my presentation, I want to try to stimulate you with 3 ideas. The first is that your I in questions of the kind, how do I improve what I'm doing, is at the heart of my understanding of educational research. For most of my life in universities, I got a science degree to start with. I then went on to philosophy and got a master's in psychology, and my own doctorate was actually studying my own practice as an educator with my students. I was taught for many years to take the I out of my questions. I was told it was subjective, it was anecdotal, I should not use the I in my research reports. But every day with my students, I was asking the question, how do I do this better? I was asking, how can I help my students to improve their learning? And the I could not be taken out of that question. So one of my first things that I put in my presentation, and I will show you how to access it, is to encourage you to put the I back into your inquiries, to have the confidence to put the I that you know that you are using in your education with your teachers back into your research questions. Could I just ask, is that understood as an idea? Because it was the big movement when I was president of our British Educational Research Association. This was one of the key ideas I insisted needed to come back into educational research. And in your universities, I've been here now 3 times at Greek conferences, the I is removed, people speak very quickly and will talk for an hour to an audience, where the I is missing, it is all general abstraction. And so if you are to transform your teaching and learning to active learning with genuine dialogue, I think you need to do what you did at the beginning, which is to establish conversation as your main mode of teaching and learning. But the I is needed to be at the heart of your inquiry with your students. So that is my first point, and I'll show you where you can access on the web my presentation today. Now, the second part I want to show you is something that I don't know if any of you have done. At the moment, I have the video here, which I will, after this session, when I get home, I will review to see whether or not I'm actually communicating what I believe that I'm saying, because I find the video of myself a very powerful data. It's very powerful data which I can analyse and include in my research reports. Now, I don't know how many of you have included a video of yourselves with your students or in action at a conference in your research reports. But I want to show you how you can do that and how important it is. Now, this video clip is very short. We say reenacting. It's like a drama of a committee that I went to in my university in Bath, where there had been a case that the University Senate had set up a working party to investigate whether my academic freedom had been breached. Are you okay? Yeah, had been breached. Are you? The committee reported that my freedom had not been breached, and that was the conclusion. I went to the committee and I protested that they had not understood the pressures that had been put on me not to publish. And this is me reenacting that scene. And the words are not that important. But I want you to watch the body language. I want you to listen to the tone of voice. Because the video communicates, as I think I am doing now, an energy through my body with values that cannot be put on pages of text, printed pages of text. This is why I'm stressing the video. Okay, so I'll just show you this. Let's just see if it comes out. We might need just to check the sound is okay. Because I turned to walk away.
here I paused, and then I turned. And I said, if you allow that report to be made public, you are denying some of the fundamental values of what it means to be a scholar and an academic. If you don't recognise the pressure to which I've been subjected to in this institution since I came here in relation to my research, you are opening the doors for other abuses in relation to this institution. Now that is all I've got to say to you. But if you permit that report to go to Senate in that form, you're denying the fundamental responsibilities of being an academic. Right.
As I watch that, I can still feel the passion and the energy I felt at that moment. The committee changed their report, and it went to Senate to say that my academic freedom had not been breached, but that was because of my persistence in the face of pressure, and a less determined individual would have felt that their freedom was constrained. Now that is all that I wanted to be acknowledged by this committee, that I had had a lot of pressure not to publish because I was studying myself in the institution. I had had problems with senior professors and academics. One or two had actually tried to get me sacked, and I actually wrote my research report around this, and it was factually true. Now, they hadn't had anything like that before, but I was exercising my academic freedom to tell the truth. Am I making sense? Now, that visual data goes into my research report. I've included it in my presentation. I will show you how you access it on the web, so you can see the power of the visual data of yourselves, possibly with your students, because I do a lot of work in classrooms with the children, to communicate the energy and values that come out of your bodies. It can't be captured just in words alone. So that is my second point that I wanted very much to talk through with you. And I will give you just 2 or 3 minutes in a minute just to ask any questions. And the third point that I wanted to raise with you is this. To actually access all of this work, you can go to a website. The website is called actionresearch.net. All of the reports that I produce can be accessed from the website. You can access my talk today from here. Now, this is like a huge electronic portal. What is coming to you now actually contains doctoral theses from all over the world, and they're actually surrounding you now, which if you had your wireless connections, you could click on this section here, for example. We may not have the live links at the moment, no, but if you have the live links, all of those theses with I in the title from all over the world that have been accredited are accessible to you now. So this huge portal is bringing you resources from all over the world of educators who have done this kind of work with multimedia accounts. Many of them have got videos of their own practice which they're bringing to you through this space. But it transforms what counts as educational knowledge around the world. It is no longer the academic here giving you the knowledge. What you're doing is bringing your accounts of your work as educators, your influence, and sharing them with the world. It is a global research community. At the moment, I don't think there will be one report from people in this room, including video of your practice, to show your influence through active dialogue and active learning, to share that with the rest of the world, as other people have given you the gift of their work through this. Now that is the third point that I came just to show you how you can access through this actionresearch.net, which is this website here, it's just the http actionresearch.net. You'll be able to go this evening, link into the web, and you can access through this for the presentation that I have produced here with these points in it, the evidence with the data. But I'm no longer talking all my way through my presentation. I just said it is available for you to engage with and to then share your accounts with others. So those 3 points, the I coming into your research, using visual data, very important from your own practice, and sharing it internationally through the web. Now, could I ask if you've got any questions for me before I finish? Because you began by the active dialogue together as you were sharing what matters to you. And the active dialogue requires you to form your questions, good quality questions. So that is very important to me, that I haven't just been transmitting knowledge, yeah? That there's something actively going on with you where you may have come with some questions, I may have stimulated some questions, that you feel that you are being heard and that your voices are important in a dialogue. So could I just pause and just ask, do you have any questions? Do you have any issues or concerns? You may have to speak up because of the room, the size of the room. Do you have any for me?
Okay, Jack, I can't let this chance go. So, the I, for quite a lot of people in the UK I'm worried for, are not experiencing it as an I, but as an us. And I'm thinking of Bourdieu, and I'm thinking of cultural capital, and I'm thinking of the extent to which local enclaves determine life chances of people. So can I ask you to relate I to our, I to us?
Yeah, and also I to we. You know, there's us, there's we. Now, I found that often people in authority use we to control. That they don't mean you and I, they use we, and the I is actually removed. So there is an issue here which is very important. Now, we have a little symbol which is an I, and we call it a tilde. It's a little line like that. I tilde we, which shows a relational quality between the I and the we, so that the I does not get lost, neither does the we. So that is very, very important. And we also make sure that issues of culture are brought into the explanations. I don't want to push it now, but if you look at your history, and you look at the 2,500 years that the Aristotelian logic has governed the Western universities, you should recognise that Aristotle took contradiction out of correct thought. I'll guarantee that everybody here is a living contradiction, in the sense that you hold passionately values that are not being lived as fully as they can. So your very logic from your culture, and your culture has influenced the whole of the Western higher education system with the Aristotelian logic, has taken I as a living contradiction out of research. And yet, I'll guarantee that everybody in this room, especially now with economic rationalism damaging Greeks more than many other countries, that we're all feeling that sense of living contradiction. And we are hit as well in the UK, the whole of the European and the global economies are hit with that sense of economic rationalist policies which remove the questions of value of humanity from consideration, because the key value is one generally of money and profit. So that is why I think it's very important to bring in the us in relation to culture and in particular the most advanced theories of the day, like with Bourdieu's work, is very important with the habitus. Are there any other questions, or if Bill wants to come back at me? But did you notice that when I asked if there were any questions, how silent you became? Yeah? Now, I'm saying for active dialogue, we need to have each other's questions which are formed and taken seriously. And I don't think in this context you will be used to it. Yet it's very important for me, and I'll just pause, I'll stop because my 20 minutes are up, but is there anything else that you feel that you would like to raise as an issue or a concern in this space? Because for me, it's your voices which are really important if we're to get active dialogue at the centre of education. Are you going to leave me with silence? Is that what you're... By all means do, but I prefer to finish with one of your voices than mine, but it's okay.
Thank you, Jefferson. You are interested in our questions or in our answers to the questions?
Both.
Okay. So, you want from us to express what is the question?
Yeah.
Which is the question that I give?
Please. Yeah.
Okay. I asked her what is the best value? What do you mean? What is something that is best for you? And she told me that the best is to do the best of things. To put all your potential, all your energy to something go to excellence.
That's really important, because if you could then show what that was meaning with your story of your practice, about how you're attempting to do the best and what excellence means to you, with the values base you hold, that is exactly what I'm saying is needed. So that's really great. Okay?
The other way around.
Yes.
She asked me, okay, tell me now your value. And I told her that what I think is that whenever someone does something good, not to get lost, not to lose this thing, but it's good to share it to the whole community, to your friends,
Yep. So if you will all take that and think, if something good, and the notion of the good is very important. What do we mean by the good? My language is values of humanity. What are the values that give hope for the future of humanity? For you to tell your story with that sense of good at the heart of what it is you're doing, and sharing that in community, is exactly what I'm really advocating. Okay? So I will now pause, but thank you for letting me finish with that. Thank you. Okay, that's good. Okay, yes.